Hey rockers, back yet again for another rock and roll tale. Today we're going to talk about Kiss and Queensrÿche 1984. Before we get started, can I ask you guys to please consider subscribing to my channel to help me build it? Please help out an old rocker in one of the only avenues I have, and what I have left is my memories. Well, most of it. I do some research, man. Also, if you like the video, please like it at the end and maybe leave a comment. But here we go, guys. Back to the year 1984, December 17th at the Peoria Illinois Civic Center. Yep, Kiss was headlining on their Animalize tour, and the band Queensrÿche was doing their support for the album Warning, which both had come out in September of the same year, 1984. Kiss at the time was made up of Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Eric Carr, of course, on drums, and great Bruce Kulick on the guitar, lead guitar. Now, on the Animalize album, they did use Mark St. John. He only made one appearance with Kiss as far as video history, and he's only on the Animalize album. However, just a couple notes about Kiss. Did you know that on that Animalize album, they had a lot of guest stars? For instance, former Plasmatics bass player Gene Boisvia plays bass on 3 songs of that album. Desmond Child does backing vocals. Bruce Kulick played on 3 songs. So yeah, there was a lot of people guesting on that album, and I was stoked to find out that Gene from the Plasmatics was on the record too, man. But Mark St. John, he only did lead guitar on this Kiss album, and he was fired, I think, starting around the month that I saw this concert in December of 1984. The band did not have their makeup on, of course, at this point, and you would think it wouldn't be as exciting without the makeup and all that, but it turned out to be very exciting. The crowd was extremely crazy and loud to see Kiss and Queensrÿche, which is where I'm going to start. By the way, Animalize was the 12th album, studio album by the band Kiss. So, Warning by Queensrÿche is issued by this awesome American progressive metal band featuring Jeff Tate on the vocals, Michael Wilton on lead guitar, the great Chris DeGarmo on lead guitar, Eddie Jackson on bass. I think Eddie was there on bass. And then on drums, Scott Rockenfield. What a great name, huh? Rockenfield. Dude, Queensrÿche was no joke. Their guitar players were killer. Those guys were like virtuosos, just like double guitar awesomeness. And I loved watching Queensrÿche. Now, of course, their singer Jeff Tate is known for his voice that's very, operatic and high, and he can hit places that other people can't. There's only a few people in rock and roll that have fit that category. Of course, Rob Halford immediately comes to mind, King Diamond, and of course, there's others. But Jeff Tate is one hell of a singer. Whether you like the band or not, the guy has vocals. Wow. Here he comes, Speed Racer. Anyway, that was cheesy. So that night at the show, I made a couple notes to tell you the band was formed in 1982. Queensrÿche is from Bellevue, Washington. They have had released 16 studio albums, I do believe. And of course, Jeff Tate was their singer for years and years, including in the story you're about to hear. But nowadays, and since, I think it was the year 2012, Jeff Tate was supposedly fired from the band following a altercation before a show in Brazil. So they hired a guy that used to sing for the band Crimson Glory. And that guy is named Todd LaTorre. God, I've got to slow down. Slow down, Derek. Bloody mess, slow down. So let's get to the show, guys. We already know what's up. We know who's in the band. We know Kiss and Queensrÿche are in the house. But what happened? Well, when Queensrÿche came out, I recorded the entire show. And I recorded the entire Kiss concert. You can find both those recordings on my other YouTube channel, The Church of Rock. That's all one word, The Church of Rock. Just go type in Kiss, Peoria Civic Center, December, was it the 17th, 1984. Voila! Or Queensrÿche. That recording is on there as well. So I went back and got notes. And then I did some video research of the band playing like a month before and after this gig to get an idea of their energy to help the old dude remember stuff, and it came right back to me. I had a lot of good photos from this show that burned in the 2020 Alameda fires. But hey man, I still got my Speed Racer t-shirt, and I freaking hated Speed Racer. I did not like it, man. But somebody gave me this, and I thought it was a cool rock and rollish kind of shirt. Queensrÿche hit the stage, and they did the song called Night Rider, which was kick-ass. Those of you that like Queensrÿche know of that song. Prophecy was the second song with its killer driving rhythm. Just rocks, man. The vocals were off the charts. Deliverance was the third song that Queensrÿche performed. That's when Jeff Tate finally spoke to the crowd. He had been silent thus far. He said the audience sounded really good because let me tell you something. Wow, that crowd was not just your typical, hey, thanks for coming and playing for us. It was like, thanks for coming to play for us. It was completely insane with everybody going off the charts. Listen to the recordings on the Church of Rock channel and you'll hear it. It was really, really, really enthusiastic, to put it mildly. After that, they did a song called Before the Storm, which at the time was a new song. And of course, the dual guitars on this song were unforgettable. These guys are a powerhouse, man. Before the Storm. Then they went into Blinded. And then, of course, after that, a very popular Queensrÿche fan song, The Lady Wore Black, which had people really feeling hot and up in their seats and going crazy. And I love the album that the EP they put out back in '83, self-entitled Queensrÿche, by the way. It's probably my favorite Queensrÿche recording. I'm not discounting their other stuff, but that first EP is magical for me, and I got to see him back in the day too. Maybe I'll have a story later. They did, after Blinded, The Lady Wore Black, and then they did In Force, which was yet another new song from the Warning album, and the drums were awesome. And during this song, the drummer was having people interact with him, like doing things like, all right, make some noise, dun, dun, and then the crowd would go, yeah, dun, dun, yeah, and it just went on and on and on at least 6-8 times, and he was getting a lot of interaction because if you were on that stage that night, you were probably high as a kite with your adrenaline pumping because, man, that crowd was crazy infectious. And my dog just tapped onto my video stand. So if things got adjusted a little bit, thanks, Jet Dog. She's right below me, never leaves me, man. Let's see. Warning was the band coming out and doing Warning. Yes, they did. After In Force, it was badass. That's when Jeff Tate introduced all the members of the band after they played the song Warning, which was the title track of the 1984 album, which came out in September of '84. Then, my friends, I was happy to hear Queen of the Reich. That song has a really, really awesome, far-stretching vocal that Jeff Tate has no problem reaching, of course. That was super amazing. The vocals on that were epic. Jeff Tate, if you happen to be watching this, doubtful, but you never know, you, my friend, killed it that night and many other nights. The last song of the night, of course, was Take Hold the Flame. Well, before Take Home the Flame came on, I hate to say this, but the band acted like they were kind of over to give the impression of going to do an encore real quick, but they didn't have a proper encore time in their set, so they did what they could, and they were very, very professional, but they made it seem as if they were done, and everyone started chanting, "We want Kiss! We want Kiss! We want Kiss!" And it was embarrassing. Those poor guys were just trying to give people a little notice that they were going to take a break for a minute and come back out and do one more. They didn't even leave the stage, but people were like so ready for Kiss. But they were very enthusiastic for Queensrÿche. It's just that I felt bad listening to that recording. We want Kiss. Anyway, you heard one guy on there saying, Kiss sucks. So that must have been the one guy not there to see Kiss, I'm guessing. Anyway, man, killer vocals, high range, one of a kind. As far as the guitars, they were super tight. The audience loved Queensrÿche, and that was badass. Now I'm going to quickly morph into the Kiss story. This is what you've been waiting for, you Kiss freaks. Yeah, man, I've been a Kiss fan since, well, my first album I got by Kiss, honestly, was Hotter Than Hell, their second album, who my Aunt Kay McLeod gave me for my birthday when I turned, I believe, 9 or 10. And I was so stoked, not only to have the album I wanted, but that the word hell was on there. Because as a kid, I couldn't cuss. My parents would smack me in the mouth or, you know, ground me, whatever they did. Once in a while, my mom would put soap in my mouth. Yep, old school, son. We know what I learned from that? Don't cuss around your mother. Dun, 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 dun. Life is what it is. So then Kiss starts to play, and if you would give this video a like, I'd appreciate that. If you would subscribe, I'd appreciate it even more. So the band comes out, plays about an hour and a half. The lights go down. The weird background music comes up on the PA. You're like, what's going on? It's exciting. It's building up. And then a voice comes out over the PA system saying, "You wanted the best. You got the best. The hottest band in the world, Kiss!" And then, boom, the guys hit the stage with Detroit Rock City. We were up in our seats. The crowd was going ape shit. I assure you, it was crazy. And they did, the whole, "How you doing, Peoria?" After that song. Paul Stanley has kind of like a book that he kind of uses the same phrases from pretty much city after city, because I did my research. And at one point he said, "You guys look like a damn zoo." And he said, "Let's see you animals." And that's what they did in other cities. But that's okay. It was still awesome, because let me tell you something about this Animalized tour. They weren't relying on gimmicks. They weren't relying on any kind of makeup or the past. They were strictly relying on their talent, their energy, and their cool-ass clothing. Yeah, they were dressed to the nines, no makeup, but they were looking cool as hell, and they did not stop moving. And for some guys that are notorious for not being on drugs, that's commendable. Back and forth, up and down, these guys were smiling, rocking, posing, jumping around. Yeah, Kiss and Paul Stanley in particular, wow. Gene Simmons was off the charts. Bruce Kulick was off the charts. And little Eric Carr up there, what a big sound that guy had. I love Eric Carr on drums, dude. They went into Cold Gin. That was the second song. Another immediate crowd pleaser that they don't usually play so early in the set, I don't believe. Of course, there was a song about waiting for the night, they said, and they did Creatures of the Night next. Title track from that great album, Creatures of the Night, featuring Vinnie Vincent on guitar on that album. That was killer. Gene, I made a little note about Gene. Paul Stanley, after the song, said, "Yeah, Gene Simmons, we were walking through the hotel lobby today, and all these ladies were there. And Gene Simmons, the girls were asking, 'Where's Gene? Where's Gene?' And Paul proceeded to talk about, his rigmarole about, 'There's Gene right over there.'" And what did my note say? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It was just, the thing is these guys never quit. This was back in the days when I believe Gene Simmons was single, so it was okay to throw Gene under the bus and make sex jokes about him. Heck, at one time on stage at this show, Paul Stanley said something about having something down his pants, his own pants. It was a highly sexualized vibe. They were talking about ladies a lot, a little bit. Hey, it didn't offend me, but there's probably some people, the ladies out there, that might be like, that's too much. But nah, it's Kiss. It was always Paul Stanley being a sex goddess. Did I just say goddess? That was a blooper, and I'm not going to edit it because I don't feel like I need to edit. I just made a mistake, and I'm going to leave it, man. A rock god, a sex symbol, a sex god. Everyone loved Paul Stanley. The women loved that man. Even Speed Racer probably liked Paul Stanley. But anyway, he did his job well. Fits Like a Glove from the Lick It Up album was next, and then they went into Heaven's on Fire. Then Paul went into a big rant about all the bootleggers that were outside, and good for him. All the people that sell Kiss, all those bootleg t-shirts. Remember back in the 80s and 90s, you'd leave a venue and there'd just be people everywhere with selling t-shirts. $10, they're 20 inside. And then you'd wear them once or twice, they fall apart. You're like, you bastards. But yeah, he was addressing those bootleg wankers, and I'm glad he did. He went off and off, told the crowd to say F you real loud, and he said to F them. And yeah, Paul was on a rant that night against the bootleggers. And I'm going to lift my glasses so I could read my own notes. Then, of course, there was this cool, after Heaven's on Fire, Bruce Kulick guitar solo. Bruce Kulick, man, 15 years to the day of this concert almost, I got to interview him in a radio station. How wild and what a small world, man. Under the Gun was the next song, and the guys had everyone going apeshit. The crowd was going crazy. The lighters were going. People were screaming. It was crazy. War Machine was next, which was heavy and appreciated. The drum solo from the great Eric Carr was next. That was really fun. It was good. It was unpredictable. And that guy rocks. And then when he was done with his drum solo, Eric Carr went right into singing lead vocals on Young and Wasted. Yep, that was cool. You gotta be pretty talented to play drums and sing. Shout out Casey Young from the Renegades and Glory's Gate. He does just that sometimes. Also, a bass solo was next from the great Gene Simmons. It was very short, very bass-ick, but to the point. And Gene looked cool. He was using the tongue thing and walking around just smiling a lot, and he looked really good. He was looking good in those days, man, like really healthy and probably single. So he was on the prowl. Gene, what a legend. Whether you like him or hate him, what a legend. I Love It Loud was a huge sing-along. The entire Peoria Civic Center, I think it holds 12,000 people, I believe, something like that. Everybody was singing I Love It Loud, and I was one of them, man. I Still Love You was next, which is a Kiss ballad. I'm not a big ballad guy. It was nice to have the change of energy, though, because it was just super high-paced all the way. So they gave a little ballad, and probably my least favorite song of the night, to be honest. Love Gun was next, which was great. Something about, I remember Paul saying something about, what you doing with those pistols down your pants, or something like that. But Love Gun rules. I love that song and album, and man, I just saw a cool Love Gun t-shirt on the line the other day. Or no, it was at the 3 Penny Mercantile here in Ashland. I'm going to try to call and see if they still got that t-shirt. I want it. Then they went into the song Black Diamond. And he said, you got some fine-looking girls here, Peoria. We're going to dedicate this to all the ladies. And, of course, Black Diamond, the vocals were stellar. The whole band was up there doing backing vocals for it. Oh, Black Diamond! It was real powerful. A great song from the very first Kiss album. And if you want to know a really good version, check out YouTube and the Midnight Special back in the 70s when they played this live with Peter Criss doing the vocals, and he destroys his drum set at the end, I believe. Great video from the Midnight Special and Kiss in the 70s doing Black Diamond. Lots of flash pots going on, cool lighting, none of the stuff that Kiss were typically known for, like the thousands and thousands of dollars of crazy stuff. But they did have a lot of flash pots that went off at the right times to, well, put a little exclamation point behind everything they did. It was awesome seeing Kiss. I can't say enough how energetic it was. Was it as cool as seeing the band back in the makeup days? Yes and no. I mean, it was still a great rock band. It just they didn't have the makeup on. But I got to see them a year before this when they still had the makeup on. That story is right here on this channel about Kiss and the Plasmatics 1983 in Iowa at the Five Flag Center. If you just go to the video section on this channel, you can find that and other really cool stories. After they did Black Diamond, of course, flash pots going off. It signified bye-bye, ends of the show. Tons of flash pots. The band's gone. I can't tell you enough how loud the crowd was, guys. Listen to that recording on The Church of Rock and you'll hear it. And they were just very, very, very appreciative. So what did they come out and do for their encore? Want to take a guess? Go ahead. Wrong. Well, some of you got it right. Okay. They came out and did Lick It Up! Lick It Up! Yeah, and the whole crowd was going completely nuts. Before that, there was a weird little intro from Oh, Susanna, oh, won't you... It came from Louisiana with a banjo on my knee. I don't know what the deal with that is, but on guitar that was played. I don't remember if Bruce or Paul was playing that, but it was definitely the intro to Oh, Susanna. Stephen Foster might have written that, I believe. Crazy. The stuff one knows and remembers and doesn't know. The last song of the night, you guessed it, man. You rock. Rock and roll all night and party every day. Probably one of America's and the world's best rock and roll anthems of all time. I had the single when that came out. I believe it was on Casablanca Records. And that thing, I wore it out, man. And I couldn't, every night I'd play it and pretend it was like New Year's Eve in my head. I want to rock and roll all night and party every day. I really do. But I was like 10 or 9 or whatever I was, 11. But I grew up later and realized, why did you spend so much time wishing you were an adult when childhood is where all the magic truly happens and everyone goes back to, remember the good old days? Well, truly, I do believe the good old days are now. But those were some good old days being a kid, right? Why the hell did we try to grow up so damn quick? Please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for listening to the crazy ramblings of a hyper ADHD, OCD, 24 hours, 7 days a week, complete rock and roll junkie and lunatic. I host the Church of Rock radio show every Sunday night for 24 years. You can hear it on Sundays at 6 p.m. Pacific time at kskq.org. And also, I've been a 40-year vocalist, writer, performance artist, manager, booking agent, singer, actor, and you can contact me at the email that I'm providing in the description area. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share on my video, and I'll be back again with more rock, punk, and metal tales before you can say, I want to rock and roll all night and party every day. Maybe not that part so much because it'll catch up with you, boys and girls. Stay sober and stay happy. Or do what you want to do and stay happy. Just don't make yourself miserable searching for enlightenment in the wrong places. Rock and roll, my friends. All the best. Cheers.